Hello. 24 years ago, Azerbaijan has joined the United Nations World Declaration on the Survival, Protection and Development of Children. About the work which has been done during these years in the country to protect and support children's rights, we will talk with Edward Karadin, the representative of UNICEF in Azerbaijan. Good afternoon, Mr. Karadin.
Good afternoon.
Azerbaijan, after gaining its independence, was one of the first countries that joined the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. The activities of UNICEF in Azerbaijan, and especially those funds that have been invested over the years, are impressive. We calculated the amount of money we are talking about is over $40 million. And here is my question. How do you assess the cooperation between Azerbaijan and UNICEF in the last quarter of a century? What practically was done during this period?
Well, I think a lot of things have been done for children, and actually it's not really about the money, it's about the results that are achieved for children. And if you look back over a relatively short period of time, in a country that's still very young, we've seen some great progress for Azerbaijan's children. So investments in things like immunization have meant that polio, a crippling disease, has been eradicated from this country in the last 15 years. We've seen more kids going into school. We now have almost 100% of primary school children attending classes. We've seen vast improvements in healthcare. So in just these few areas alone, we've seen enormous practical progress for children. But at the same time, we've seen the way in which children are respected and the way in which children are treated have also improved with new legislation. You mentioned, that Azerbaijan was one of the first countries to sign up to the Convention on the Rights of the Child. But also national laws have been improved to make it illegal, for example, for girls under the age of 18 to get married, to improve nutrition, to improve the way in which children are treated in the justice system. All of this has really put in place good foundations for future growth.
Since 2016, Azerbaijan has been implementing with UNICEF a new country program action plan for 2016-2020. What are the main areas of focus?
I think for us now it's about making sure that every child in this country benefits from the progress that we've seen over the last 20 years. We want every child to have a fair chance in life, whether you're a girl or a boy, whether you're born in a city or in a rural village, whether you come from a richer family or one of the poorer families. Every child should have the same chance in life. So our program with the government right now is looking at some of the children who perhaps have been left behind. So for example, children with disabilities. We know that about a quarter of children with disabilities are still not attending mainstream school, and we'd like to see that change. We want to make sure that children who are perhaps caught up in trouble with the authorities don't end up in prison, but are given a second chance to demonstrate the value that they can offer to society, because we know that makes them better citizens when they become adults. So there are these important areas of work, and we mentioned a bit earlier some of the work in health and nutrition that we still need to do more on. If we focus on these unreached children, or these children who are not yet fully benefiting from the national progress that we've seen, then overall the country is going to be much more successful, much more prosperous, and every family is going to have a better chance in the future.
Through which agencies and facilities are you rendering that support to the mentioned areas, to the mentioned kids?
Well, we work with a whole range of different partners here. I mean, of course, some of our key partners are within the government, and we work with a number of different ministries and with state committees. We work with the executive committees at the district level. A lot of our work is about not only helping to bring technical assistance and to share our knowledge with our partners here in Azerbaijan about how we can do things better, but also to put some of that theory into practice. So just a few weeks ago, I was in Tartar province and in Bardar, and I was able to see how we're working with the local executive committee, the local administration, to support young people in their communities, to get them more involved in community life, to get them involved in decision making and discussions with adults in their community, so they can feel that they're playing a constructive role in the shaping of their own societies. And that's very important in a country where a third of the population is made up of young people. But also we are looking at ways that we can work with academics, looking at ways we can work with universities. And of course, in a country like Azerbaijan, the private sector is a big partner as well.
UNICEF pays great attention to the issues of mother and child welfare. What kind of work has been done in this direction, and what's the plan and outlook in this regards?
Well, I think we really want to focus on some of the fundamentals in early childhood development here. I've talked a little bit about the importance of breastfeeding as one of the important ingredients for a newborn child's life, and we need to increase the number of young mothers who are breastfeeding their newborn babies. But I think the other area that's important is really helping young children to develop their minds and to take advantage of this very short period in a child's life when their brain develops extremely quickly. You know, in the first 7 years of life, a child's brain is developing more quickly than at any other time of its life, and we need to make the most of that opportunity. So one of the programs we're supporting here is helping the government to develop school preparedness or school readiness programs. These are special classes for 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds in regular schools where children are starting to come in and get used to attending school for the first time, to prepare them for when they officially start the primary school years at the age of 6. And already we've seen about 100,000 children in the last year take part in this new program, and the government's very committed to it. And I saw myself in Neftchala just last week, youngsters sitting in these classes, their first time in school, getting ready to start their formal education next year, and their teachers saying already they're seeing huge leaps in progress in their development and their ability to take part in lessons. You know, and that's going to be important for them when they take part in their full schooling next year.
It's probably one of the most rewarding jobs you have.
I think seeing the difference that you can make to children's lives is important. And I think also, you know, if we're honest, you know, it's being a little bit selfish as well. You know, as we get older, who are we going to rely on to look after us? It's going to be our children and our grandchildren. So if we don't invest in young people today, if we don't give them these opportunities to excel and to demonstrate all that they can offer, we're going to be the ones that suffer in the future. So it's also
Hopefully
in our own
not.
interest to invest in our own children.
Hopefully not. 2 years ago, Azerbaijan's children's Paralympic movement has successfully started. There is a Children's Paralympic Committee in the country. Are there any specific plans to develop this direction?
Well, UNICEF would like to see more opportunities for children with disabilities to really play a full and active role in the lives of their communities. I think again in Azerbaijan there are great opportunities. You've mentioned the Children's Paralympic Committee, the first of its type ever in the world. We know that Azerbaijan at adult level has excelled in Paralympics,
Yep.
bringing home a number of medals from Rio and from the London Paralympics. Yep. We'd like to see more young people have an opportunity to demonstrate their ability and their talent. I also think it's important not to look at the disability first. Let's look at the ability that these young people have. But we need to give them opportunities. We need to make the sports centres accessible, and the government has done a lot of work to make that possible. We also need to work with coaches so that they know better how to support children with disabilities and bring out their talents. But I think most importantly, it's about showing communities and showing society at large that these children are children like any other. They may have a physical disability, they may have a learning disability, but they still have talent and they still have skills. And if we give them those opportunities through sport, through education, through generally participating in the lives of their communities out in the open, not hidden away, then I think we change people's attitudes as well towards children with disabilities. And again, I've seen kids with disabilities doing amazing things. I've seen kids with disabilities who swim better than I can swim, you know, who can play ping pong better than I can play ping pong. We've got to give these kids a fair chance and a real opportunity.
Mr. Kavardin, I have a question. Do you send special volunteers to these agencies, to these schools, or how this work, how this support is going on? It's just very interesting.
At UNICEF, we don't have volunteers working here directly with programs in Azerbaijan. There are, of course, a lot of non-government organizations who do great work for kids in this country, and they do use a lot of support for volunteers. And I think volunteering is a good thing. That's how I began. doing the work that I do. I started out as a volunteer many years ago. But I think it's a great way also for young people to learn a little bit more about the communities in which they live and some of the challenges that children and young people can face. So I would always recommend, if you're a young Azerbaijani today and you want to get involved in volunteering, speak to local organizations in your community, talk to your school about ways in which you can get involved in the community. I think it's a great way really to broaden your experiences.
Mr. Karadin, thank you for a very interesting interview and for the work you do in Azerbaijan.
It's been my pleasure, and I should also say today is National Children's Day, so this is a great moment to talk about kids. Thank you so much.
This was Edward Karadin, the representative of UNICEF in Azerbaijan. On the occasion of the International Children's Day, we talked about the activities of the organization aimed at supporting the rights of children and their development. See you.